As if Classic versus Rogue wasn't enough to delight you, now Classic goes up against another insane Zerg opponent. It's going to be Classic going up against Serral to find out who moves through into the round of 8 here at the Esports World Cup. And this is the Saudi National Bank match of the day for day number 2 here for the StarCraft World Championship. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. It's a best of 5 to determine who makes the top 8 straight away. And joining me to talk about this one, I have Rotterdam, I have Zombie Grub, and I have good old Lambo. So Lambo,
yo, let's go. Welcome back, everyone. Welcome back to the EWC Esports World Cup 2025. They got Lambo on the casting couch.
The last time we saw it was in Dallas, where Classic
Let's
actually
go.
managed to take it. But I think this is a clash of styles that really favors Serral, especially lately. Every time I boot up StarCraft, I get into the Battle.net, I check my friends list, and it's a 1-hour game between Showtime and Serral. They've been grinding the late games, and that's kind of Classic's plan A. Against every Zerg, it's enough for him to just stay defensive, stay super solid, survive to the late game, and that's where he shines, where he wins. But I think against Serral, he needs a different plan.
ZG, your thoughts?
I mean, I guess that sums it up, right? Like, it just, Classic is going to be great in the late game, but Serral has proven over, like, however many years that he's basically the best in the Supreme late game. Yeah, Classic got the edge in Dallas, but I think, you know, Serral's been talking about revenge against Clem. He's also looking for revenge against Classic, and I think the style still suits him. So, yeah, I mean, I feel like I'm going to give it to, you know, Serral in a prediction.
Roddy?
Yeah, it's hard to follow that up because, yes, historically, Serral, his plan in the ZvP is always, let's drag it to the late game, and that's where we shine. But the late game is also where Classic excels, and I guess that brings up to the biggest question, like, will there be a moment where Serral's going to be a lot more aggressive? Does he have 1 or 2 clever builds to prevent this from A, being a 3.5 hours best of 5, and B, something that can really work very efficiently against that Stalker Storm style that's rather defensive, that we know Classic likes to play?
Well, before I get your answer on some of that, Lambo, let's actually hear from Serral before we get into this all-important match versus Classic.
We'll get into it as well. We'll hear from Serral.
I am here with the greatest StarCraft 2 player of all time, Juna Serral Sudala. How are you doing, my friend?
Doing good, slept well, ate well, and some little practice, some little shit talk with trainer, and it's all good.
Yeah, we were actually just watching a few of those games, but your opponent is going to be Classic. So it's a tough one. He won the GSL. He's one of the strongest players coming into this tournament. Did you get a chance to study him much or to play him much in order to kind of understand his weaknesses and how you're going to approach this?
Absolutely. Since I knew that I was going to play either Rogue or Classic pretty early on, I studied for both of them. But it's always a little bit hard. He plays pretty bulletproof in a way, so there's no like easy answer there. But you can always look for weaknesses and stuff, and that's what I did. And I guess only time will tell if those are actually weaknesses or if it's all bulletproof.
All right.
Okay.
Well, at the same time as after that interview, thanks
So,
very much, Serral and Cats, for all that.
I appreciate what Lambo was able to add to the discussion, where he did mention how specifically in preparation, Serral has been practicing with Showtime.
I also talked with Serral himself, and he said the thing that matters the most is having a clean early game. I think the games are pretty much decided in the early game for himself, because he's so confident in the late game that he thinks if he gets off to a good start, where he doesn't lose any drones, where he knows what's coming, where he doesn't get super surprised, he's very confident in those games. So I think Classic, it's on Classic's side basically to come up with something. If he just does the same thing that he always does, 2 adapts, then Oracles, then Blinks, I think it's not going to happen for him.
I just have a question for Lambo as well.
Absolutely.
I'm not going to ask you who you think is going to win, because I know you say Serral, as you pretty much always say Serral. But after we finally saw the green wave gain a little bit of momentum with our first Protoss in the quarterfinals, are you afraid that this green wave is going to grow even bigger here?
No shot, no shot. I think it's my boy Serral all the way.
Yo, the copium.
Wave is just made up stuff from I don't know who, but
Fake news, fake news. All
yeah,
right.
fake news over here. No, honestly, I think I see Serral as the favorite, but Classic also has shown that he can bring it to him. That he has definitely he has a good shot, I think.
I mean, at the same time, you look at Classic versus Rogue, yes, okay. Yeah,
So it's one of those things where I would say the answer that Lambo gave was a little bit vague, in the sense that he was like, oh yeah, Serral, he's been practicing a lot with Showtime in preparation for his rematch against Classic, but we don't really know the outcome of that. We don't really know, or at least we haven't been told, like, how much his late game has improved, how more confident he is in the late game as well. We know that that's where Classic thrives. I'm kind of echoing what they said, how like Classic, he plays a very defensive style of PvZ, he plays for the late game. That's where Classic is at his best, at his strongest, where he proved that he can take it to Serral and he can bring Serral down. In the month in time that we've had in preparation for this tournament, how much has Serral improved and how much has Classic improved? That's what I feel like it's going to come down to. They were emphasizing a little bit more that a lot of it will come down to the early game and early to mid game, and if whether or not Classic can gain a lead early on to then skyrocket into late game. We'll see if that's going to be the case or not. But yeah, we'll see. Like, I'm curious to see how much Serral's ZvP has improved over time.
To figure out who is going to win this epic 50-minute game. But there was also a really cool game of Classic on Ultra Love where he had a couple High Templars, a couple Stalkers, and it looked like such a little innocent move. I was like, oh, we force out a couple units, we push back the creep a little bit, he lands 2 good storms, and he blinks forward. He straight up wins the game. I do hope that Classic will bring some of that ambition and some of that courage, because as great as he is in the late game, I do feel like we need to bring a little more than let's just defend forever.
Yeah, you know, we're talking a lot about Classic being this defensive monster, and that's absolutely true, but it feels like it's been too long since we mentioned the DT snipes in the main base.
The BlizzCon, baby.
Yeah, exactly. Like, Classic, it is kind of funny. You know, I think at a point I always considered him a little bit more of that troublemaker in that sense. Obviously, he always had the good macro and defense and all that. But then maybe it's died down a little bit as we just watched him perfect defense. But I think it's up to him to do aggression again.
Let's do it. Can Classic, our GSL champion, beat the great Jonas Atala?
After
Let's
a day
go.
of excellent games here in the arena, it may seem bold to assert that we could save the best for last, but what I can tell you is we did in fact save the next head-to-head as the Saudi National Bank match of the day, and for pretty good reason.
Because when greatness is on the line, these next two don't flinch. One brings legacy, the other breaks them. Ladies and gentlemen, it is Basilisk Serral and Virtus Pros Classic. A veteran of the game with timeless mechanics and a champion's poise. This is Classic!
His opponent, Serral of Basilisk, a 2-time Triple Crown winner, the Zerg most feared, and really an all-around nice guy.
Yeah, very much so. He's just a chill guy. Anyways, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, matchup of the day. A timeless Classic versus Serral!
What is up, everybody?
I appreciate that they have fun with it, especially because for EWC, we don't actually get that much time with the hosts. Like they have their brief intros, they have their brief outros, and that's it. So I appreciate that they spend their time like getting ready with their introductions. they have fun with it. They have fun with it. They have Tastosis for the final series. All right, we're setting up. We're setting up. They have Tastosis. As we jump into bam, the final series of the broadcast. Let's go. The final best of 5. Predictions will be open soon once we get into the games themselves, as we are setting up for that PVZ. Vetoes are in. We do have Persephone, Incorporeal, Leylands, Maganatha, and Tokamak. Ooh, we have let the larger maps through the veto process, and we've gotten rid of all the quirkier, smaller maps. Last Fantasy, Torches, Pylon, Ultra Love. You don't get more aggressive than those maps, and they are completely out of this series. Now, that means, based on the vetoes at least, strap yourselves in, because this might be the final series. It's gonna be a couple of hours, mate. It's gonna oh no, papi, oh no. I can see it already. I can see it already. With this map pool, we're going the distance, man. We're going the distance. Of course, I do want to echo what Zombiga brought up and what Rotterdam was bringing up as well. How in Classic Series previously against Rogue, he was going for some early timing attacks when he saw an opening. He was being aggressive when he saw an opening as well. And I want to echo that, saying that yes, like he isn't just like, you know, a Showtime like Demauer, right, where he's just hyper defensive and only defensive. Like if he sees an opportunity, he will go for a glaives, he will go for an early charge timing, he will be aggressive, he will try to punish you. Like he does have that flair to him. He's for a long time was a little bit more in the line of like hero more so than Showtime when it comes to being aggressive in this matchup. It does feel that way, and he does have that in him as well, so that's something to be aware of, that's something to be careful of. You don't want to just assume that he's going to play passive and defensive, because if you make that assumption, then Classic will punish you. So he does have that flair. Meanwhile, from the side of Serral, I think for the most part he's going to be reacting. They were posing the question, like, is Serral going to go for his own 3-base all-ins? Like, we were talking previously in today's broadcast about how we've seen a plethora of 3-base all-ins from Shin and from Solar, from a lot of the Korean Zerg players that have been seeing non-stop 3-base all-ins in ZvP. Is Serral also one to do that as well? Or is that kind of beneath him? Is he more one to react into macro instead? It's hard to say. Hard to say. A lot of it comes down to their preparation, right? And a lot of that has been in the dark with Serral. Serral has been showing very little of his play in the lead up to EWC. So it's hard to say, which is why I did value when Lambo brought up, you know, that he's been doing customs with Showtime. You know, that's like this insight and this insider information that we just are not privy to, as you know, spectators, as casters, as viewers. That's why I always value whenever Lambo comes in, just because, especially when it comes to covering some of the European players, like he typically, especially Serral and Raynor, he typically has like a little bit more to add to the discussion, for sure. Predictions, we'll get there, we'll get there. Serral will open portals to Classic's base, maybe. Like, as we were trying to emphasize, like, he's not typically the most aggressive player. Here we go. 10-hour best of 5. I'm leaning towards like 2.5, maybe 3 hours. To be honest, that's what I'm leaning towards. I'm leaning towards like maybe 2.5 hours. But we'll see. That's if we go to game 5. I think if we go all the way to game 5, I can see that being the reality. I'd be more than happy to have a bit of a shorter series and a shorter night here, but we'll see. It is almost 4 AM in the morning here in Australia. Yo, Paquito, ya, papi, ya. Bienvenidos. Paquito in the chats. Good to see you. Como siempre. Good to see you. Saludos. It looks like there are some technical issues and the players are just getting things ready. Also, I heard about that. I heard about how in the Blizzard launcher in the Battle.net app, like they have updated it and it has a link to EWC, which is really cool. Meanwhile, shout to Kashim. Yeah, good to see you. As the players are getting ready. Oh boy, and again, there's been a lot of anticipation, a lot of hype behind this series here. The rematch from DreamHack Dallas is upon us. As a reminder, the winner of the series has advanced on to the playoffs. The loser is going to be knocked down to an elimination match, where they will have another chance to redeem themselves tomorrow. But again, that'll be down to tomorrow's broadcast. For now, we are loading into Game 1. Game 1 is going to be on Persephone. Let's go. We are jumping in. Pan over the waterfall, the goal base, and in the bottom left-hand corner, we do have our South Korean Protoss player. We have the red Protoss representing Virtus Pro. It is Classic. And spawning in the top left-hand corner, we have Serral for Basilisk. Here we go again. Serral, the best Zerg player in the world, he's here to claim his revenge because he was favored to have a deeper run at DreamHack Dallas. I mean, a lot of players were. To be honest, DreamHack Dallas was full of upsets, full of crazy results, and he was stopped in his tracks by Classic. Will that happen again? Will Serral get his revenge? If you're in the chat, you know what time it is. It is Gamba time. Predictions are open. Place your bets on who you think will claim the series. Best of luck in the chat for your predictions. Best of luck, Patty. Best of luck. We go. For sure, Serral has it. I would be surprised if this is 3-0 in either direction. I don't expect this to be 3-0. I expect a 3-1 or a 3-2. And in my mind, this could go either way. I would imagine that all that practice against Showtime, it is going to pay off here for Serral, so I do lean towards that, but it's hard to say because, of course, Classic has also been preparing, has also been practicing, has also been improving over time. Here we go. So far, we have our initial hatch gas pool, standard open out of Serral. Likewise, Classic going for his own gate, expand into Cybercore. Nothing crazy, nothing too wild. Again, when it comes to the initial openers, when it comes to ZvP, it is a little bit stale. We often see the same thing. We often see Stargate opener in towards the third base, in towards the mid game. We have seen players like Classic mix things up a little bit when it comes to their Twilight Council timings, when it comes to going for early charge or going into early +1, going into a Phoenix-based opener. We did see that from Classic against Rogue. True, we saw him go into some Phoenixes from time to time. So he can mix it up a little bit. Otherwise, from Serral, we're just expecting, you know, a safety Roach Warren. We're expecting a third base. I say safety Roach Warren. We're really expecting Ling into Hydra, I suppose. On smaller maps, Roaches would be a little bit more necessary, just to be safe. And we'll see if Serral cuts corners. We'll see if he's willing to. See, that does move in. Does move in, does thread the mineral line. Classy does claim first blood. Yo, that reminds me of base trade. Does anyone remember, like, for a long time there, a bit of a meme on their channel was whenever the first unit would die, they'd have the first blood. I think it was the audio from like Unreal Tournaments? Question mark? Or maybe like Quake? I think Unreal Tournament. I think that's what that was from. I can't. It's been so long. First blood. So let's poke in. Quake IRC. Okay. The other one. I'll be honest, I played a lot of Unreal Tournament as a kid. I didn't play much Quake. That was before my time. Oh, put the house on it, baby. Put the house on it. Let's go. As we do open up double Oracle here across the map. At the same time, Serral's moving out to try to punish a third. Adepts are in position. The Oracles are not, and we'll see if he can force a cancel. As drones are going to be going down, getting 1, 2, 3 drone kills so far, but the third base is under fire, going for another warp in. It's going to be close. Again, the Oracles are out of position. And I don't think there's a third Oracle on the way. Yeah, 2 Adepts going down, getting a third, getting a 4th Adept as well. Classic is racing back home. Pylon's going to go down. Nice trades here from Serral. Very nice. 4 Adepts and a Pylon. But should not force a cancel. If he can, though, that'll be huge. Base taking a lot of hits. The Oracles, again, it takes him so long to get back home. Does race back, and Serral backs off. So he pulls away, he does retreats. Behind this, you see, I see 2 more gates on the way. Twilight Council into Blink, into +1. Standard follow-up. Standard follow-up here out of Classic. Meanwhile, Serral, strong start. Doesn't do any major economic damage, but damage nonetheless. Behind this, Serral, he's cutting corners. If you remember, I was referring to whether or not he was going to go for a safety Roach Warren. The answer is no. Eva Chamber into +1 melee into Ling Hydra. Oh, actually, never mind. Is getting the safety Roach Warren. Okay. Does hide it, but does go for it. With this, if Classic were to commit into Adepts or into Charge, then Serral will be ready. He would be ready for that. So I love that he threw down the Roach Warren further back behind the mineral line just to keep it hidden. You're right, it was Unreal Tournament. Yeah, I know my Unreal Tournament. Unreal Tournament 99? Okay. Yeah. To be fair, I never played Unreal Tournament 99. I played Unreal Tournament 2004. That's what I played a lot of as a kid. I believe they were made by the same company, right? I think? Maybe? Maybe. If not, I guess they were competitors. Despite that, we are getting into our openers. Again, it was just a safety Roach Warren. You can see here Hydra Den's on the way, Baneliness on the way, so Serral is getting into Ling Bane Hydra. but did play it safe. Meanwhile, Classic turtling up back at home, building up, getting into Blink, getting into Storm, getting into a 4th. Which is what we expect out of Classic. We expect him to just, you know, be more defensive, to build up on 4 bases. Serral did the same, some losses early on, but nothing major. Just 4 drone kills, if you recall. Overseer does scout the early Storm. He is aware. And from here, Serral has a couple of options. Is he going to be greedy? Does he tech up into Lurkers? Does he try to be aggressive? Does he try to double down? Serral joining up to 86 already. Jesus! Joining up so hard. Again, unlike these other Zerg players that have been going for 3 base all-ins, no. Serral, he does run up completely on 4 bases. Embracing Lingbane Hydra. From here, he can start teching in towards Hive Tech. But a really nice setup here from Serral. As long as he can maintain the economy. True. There's the Infestation bit, again, the first sign of Hive. I think the heart rate is wrong for Serral. He's finished, so it's minus 121. Oh no. I honestly have not been paying attention to the heart rates. I would appreciate it if anyone notices anything about that. Stace is going off, and oh, Serral, he is being aggressive. I was curious because we didn't see him taking up too quickly. We have Overlord Speed on the way. We have Drop Lord production potentially underway as well. We can see the Classic is taking up into Sky Toss. He's working towards a Fleet Beacon, towards a Stargate, and he's working towards the late game. We'll see if he can get there. We'll see if Serral can break Classic early and stop that from happening. So the pressure is on Serral here. You can see he's spreading creep, he's building up. Here come the Drop Lords, as it had mentioned. Overlord Speed is almost complete. He's going for a massive Dune Drop into the main base, at the same time pushing towards the 3rd, towards the 4th even. So it comes down to Classic to see whether or not he can survive this aggression. So if our Classic is walling up, we have cannons on the way, shield batteries, storms. He's getting ready to receive. Does he have enough? There's a cannon in the main. There's a cannon. Serral setting up for the push. And hopefully we can switch back to the widescreen as we move in. Bailey's going to be shut down by the storms. Yeah, there it is. Nice timing. Drop into the main. Meanwhile, Classic, he does evacuate the mineral line. He does have a couple more storms left. So far, decent storms on the Lings, so the Bailey's are being kept back. And Ling drop into the main. Drops into the main, which drops into the natural. Probes are going down. And Classic is being pulled apart. 14 probe kills. Meanwhile, there's still 2 storms. Yeah, there's still a couple storms left. Oh no, Templar! Templar, they're forced to pull back. They barely survive. There's still a couple storms remaining. And Classic, he survives, but it costs him 33 workers. Again, the drop into the main base, drop into the natural did work quite well. So with the tri-pronged attack, gets damage done. He doesn't kill Classic, but he does cripple. And if you can see here, Serral, he's gearing up and getting ready for wave number 2. As Serral, he's remaxing, rebuilding, and going once again. Hive is on the way for Serral, so he's not all in. He's taking up, but he's still committed. Storms are popping off. There's 1 storm left. That's the final storm. Yeah, the final storm for Classic, and you can see here he barely doesn't have enough. We need a little bit more reinforcements, so at the same time, ooh, Zealot Runby will distract, and Serral's racing back home. Serral, he's racing back home. Classic buying a lot of, buying some breathing room here. He has some room to breathe. He needs more Templar, needs more storms. There it is, 6 high, Jesus, 6 high Templar morphing in. Oh, the Baleen drop though. It does unload. Oh my god, 15 probes, gets another mineral line. And Classic, he just cannot react in time. Again, just being torn apart here. And we were curious, if you remember, when it came to the casting couch, we were curious about, is Serral going to also just back off, macro up, and tech up into the late game? The answer is no. He was quick to drone, he was quick to max, but he maxed out on a lair-based army, and as he was taking, then he was being aggressive. And honestly, really solid aggression here from Serral. He did not take it lying down, he did not rest on his laurels. He's done enough damage to make sure he stays ahead. Contamination here on the shields upgrade. Let's go. Rare side with the contaminations. And again, Classic should not be able to expand. He should not be able to get a 5th base, and he should not be able to survive the next wave. Here we go. go. Yeah, as lurkers are now morphing in, we have the lurker upgrades. Again, Serral just reaching his final form. Technically, if Classic can survive a little bit longer, he can max out on Skytoss, true. And thankfully, Serral, he's teching, right? He's teching up into what? Into a Spire, into Spire upgrades, into more bases, into more Crease Red. Lingbane rolling in. Lurkers are set. A nice storm on the Lingbane. Classic is trading well. He's trading well for himself. He cannot push into the Lurkers, but he trades well against the Lingbane. We can see Serral remaxing once again, going for the Nidus. Can Nidus into the main. So here we go. Lurker's pushing on the right. Diving in the expansion. Again, does force a cancel. You know what, Classic, he does warp it in time. He does get eyes on the Nidus. Classic is maxing out. Again, you can see that despite the lead that Serral has, Classic, he's getting there. He's almost there. As he's building up his carriers. Ideally, he does want Tempest. Like, Classic doesn't have the best army. He's maxing, but still refining his forces. There we go, getting +1 air attack. Getting another Stargate. That's going to be the third Stargate for Classic. Mothership is on the way. And what's important as well, especially on Persephone, you can take it slow. It is so difficult to take your opponent's bases away from them, right? Like, even though Serral has had map control, even though Serral has been mining well, and even though he has a bank, the reality is the bases of Classic have been untouched. And eventually, he can take them. Like, 30 minutes from now, I mean. 30 minutes from now, he can still take them. Storm's going off. So again, we're thinking further ahead here. As Classic does take his 5th. Big moment here for Classic. Does finally get a 5th base. Tempest production underway. Classic is slowing this down. I would say it's imperative here that Serral saturates the gold. He needs to mine that gold base as quickly as possible to make sure that if the game state progresses long enough where Classic starts expanding in that direction, that there's nothing for Classic to take. I know it sounds crazy, given the early to mid game and how well things are looking for Serral, but the reality is Classic is maxed. Like, Classic was not killed, and Classic, he is recovering, and here we go. Serral does saturate. Like, he needs to drone up, he needs to take these gases, he has to prioritize his base as quickly as possible. And if he can, this is the next step, take some of his opponent's bases, which is so difficult to achieve here on Persephone just because they're so exposed. Zealot Runback comes in, there are some lurkers to defend. Lurkers do hold. So again, we do have those Archons building up. Lurkers are slowly gaining ground, pushing into the bases. Main army does rotate. Yeah, Lurkers are exposed. They're going to be going down and getting 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Oh my god. Sniping 5 Lurkers. We can see Classic trying to Serral trying to connect his fringe bases. Ling run by, won't achieve too much here. There's the recall. Recall's over. I believe that was the Mothership recall. There's still a base recall left. Bear that in mind. You have to keep an eye on the recalls. Do you see a second Spire? So double upgrades here for Serral. The upgrades are still lacking for Serral when it comes to his air army. It was a late second Spire. So Serral, his tech is a little bit delayed. As Classic, for the first time this game, he moves out. At 17 minutes, he does push. Sniping the spores. Yeah, spores are going down. Starting back the lurkers. Meanwhile, big shout to Milo in the chat. Milo Mindbend. God, thank you so much. Thank you so much for subscribing for the first time with Twitch Prime. Do appreciate it. Do appreciate the support. Thank you so much. Hope you enjoy the content, the casting, and the StarCraft. Thank you, thank you. Serral, he's going to be forced back. We have a spore force being set up here in the center, on the right, and the left-hand side. Classic is rotating. Despite Serral having map control, his creep spread is lackluster, so he doesn't really have much creep to work with. Classic is rotating. Oh, his drone's going to be going down. You can see the bank as well. Classic, he's caught up when it comes to his bank. And you can see just how hard Classic can snowball out of control if you don't kill him early. As he did not die, and he will deny the gold. Yeah, big move here for Classic. We spoke earlier how important this gold base was, and at least Serral was able to mine a little bit from the gold. But without it, he will not have an economic lead. Yeah, things are looking rough for Serral. As he's losing bases, losing map control. I do favor Classic in a head-on fight. It comes down to the Corruptors and how they engage, of course. As the boys are also in the Nidus? Question mark? What are we doing here? Get out of here. Brutal Storms. Storms catching out some of the Lurkers. Lurkers moving further in. At the same time, you can see Classic posturing in the center. Recalls into the main. Yeah, it does go for the recall. Mothership goes down. Does land the slow zone just in time. And he has control of the ramp. He has control of the main. Massive storms going off. Oof. And the ground army cannot push up this ramp. It's not going to happen. The hive is going to go down. And remember, he can always recall out of the main. He can always recall out. From here, takes down all the tech. The hive, the spawning pool. The lurker den as well. Storms on the lurkers. Lurkers are pushing further in. Trying to at least. And Serral has to rebuild a lot of tech. Ooh, the Corruptor's diving in. Bold move. Gets a carrier. Gets one carrier. He can harass the from the high ground as well. Brutal positioning. And he wants the expansion. He will get it. We'll get the hatchery. And from here, now he can recall. Oh! As Classic does overextend. Yeah, he overextends. We'll lose 2 Tempests. Just the one. Okay. Classic does recognize as an opening. He has yet to recall. He sees no, he's going for the lair, the backup lair. The lair goes down. The spire, the greater spire is exposed. Oh no. Yes, Serral losing so much. He has to rebuild his lair. He has to rebuild his greater spire. He denies +2. Ay, ay, ay. I mean, Serral gets punished for moving out across the map. Now, thankfully, Serral, he's still morphing in Broodlords. He was able to morph them in just in time. As Serral, he's down to, what, 3, 4 bases? I mean, his economy is still decent. The hatchery's getting quite low. Oh, Serral diving in. Late reaction by Classic. Yeah, late reaction. 2 Tempests going down, a carry as well. At this point, he has to recall. Yeah, he has to get the hell out of here. There's the recall. Gets One-Eye Templar. Classic does get out. Oh, that was a mothership recall. Okay, so he still has the base recall actually. Which means once again, oh no, the drones! No, the drones! Oh my god, get out of here! Gold base goes down. And Serral's just being bullied here. And yes, Serral does have a bank, but remember, Serral has the less efficient army. Like, Serral, he needs a bank to rebuild and to remax to keep the fight going. Classic looking good. Taking the center base. And again, as we mentioned, we spoke about this like, what, 6 minutes ago at the time, how even though Serral had more bases faster, it doesn't matter. It does not matter that he has more bases faster because he wasn't taking bases away from Classic. Because Classic eventually will take these bases, and he's doing so, as you can see. He's taking that center right base. The bottom right is still a fresh base for Classic as well. Like, Classic still has an equivalent economy available to him, or resources available to him. Which is why the gold base was so important. And Serral, he did not maintain the gold. Like, the gold is would be the only advantage that Serral would have. That would be the only economic advantage, and he doesn't maintain it, doesn't keep it. So you can see Serral, he's definitely looking a little bit stressed. Like, it's looking rough for him. He can still take a good fight. Nice fungal. Does land a fungal. Doesn't quite get on top of the Tempest though. Nice Powerbomb. Powerbomb does connect. We see a last second split. Yeah, Serral, he's mass expanding. He's trying to get an economy up and running. Or trying to maintain an economy, I should say. So Serral triply expanding. Going for the gold. The only thing that Classic has to be worried about is denying the gold base. Like, that's the only real concern. Which is why getting all the tech structures and sniping on the bases was just a bonus here for Classic. Oh. Now remember, Serral, he can still take a fight. He can still take a fight. He can still catch Classic out. So I prefer Classic's position, but he still has to be careful about that engage. Struggling run by is cleaned up. Hive has finally been rebuilt, so now we can restart the Greater Spire. Classic is rotating. Greater Spire still in the way. 26 Corruptors. That's a lot of Corruptors. Now, my concern here is that too many Corruptors. It does look like whenever the main clash occurs, Serral, he will win the battle in the sky, but Classic should be set up to remax on the ground, to remax with Stalkers. With Stalkers, with High Templar, with Archons. Like, the ground army is still a factor. Tempest are being a little bit ambitious. Uh-oh. Storm's running away. Nidus here, bottom right. Nice Nidus. Gets behind the expansion. Okay. Gets behind the Nexus. Meanwhile, Serral, he retakes the gold. As we mentioned, the gold base is so crucial for Serral. And he does get it up and running. Does take it. Classic trying to move in, trying to punish. Can't push too far. Otherwise the Tempest will be exposed. So the game is slowing down. Serral, he's once again rebuilding that bank. Ooh, does get out position though. Archons, they get in. They move in, they get behind the base. Hatchery will fall. Nice feedback. Nice feedback. Classic does pull out. And again, this is what specifically Persephone comes down to. Comes down to the gold. As the map is otherwise cut perfectly in half. We have an even base count all around. Except for the gold. Classic overextends with their Tempest. Yes, it still comes down to unit control, right? To army control. Classic has to be so careful with how he maneuvers because there are 26 Corruptors. Likewise, Serral also has to respect the High Templar as well. As he does catch one of those Archons. There it is. You can see that gateway explosion. As we mentioned before, it's almost a foregone conclusion here that Classic will lose the battle in the sky. That's why these gateways are so important, because Classic is getting ready for the ground remax. For the ground switch. And that's what Serral, after the fight, he would have to morph in as many Broodlords as he can. Assuming the Corruptors survive, of course. Nice Wolof here from Serral. Lurkers, a finish up once again. Classic, late to react. Very nice Nidus. Ooh, at the same time, goal base is going to fall. Classic takes over the gold, recalls back home. Does recall. We'll leave the mothership behind. Okay. It's a foregone conclusion that Skytles will win the air battle. Depending on the engage, I suppose. Like, based on the Corruptor count, if a fight does occur, I'm pretty sure that Serral, he should win the air battle. But I guess, I mean, it comes down to it. It comes down to how we fight. That's a lot of carriers. True. That is a really high carrier count. Bungles, they do catch us on the Tempest. Nice catch on the Tempest. Catching out 1, 2, 3 Tempests. Yeah, 3 Tempests go down. Nice snipes here from Serral. Again, he has 30 Corruptors. Jesus. Corruptors here from Serral. We see Classic taking some of the long distance mining, taking some of the gold minerals. But again, that's why Classic threw down all those gateways, because he's getting ready here for like the Mass Blink Stalker, which can kill Serral. Like basically, when the fight occurs, all that Classic really has to do is focus down not just spellcasters, but all the Broodlords. If he can reset the Broodlord count and then bam, warp in with Stalkers and reinforce with Stalkers, like he can overwhelm. But now he does rotate towards the left. We're trading bases. Uh-oh. Okay, we're going to be trading expansions. Of course, Classic, he can recall back home. He will take down the center left base. And do we just keep going? Do we commit to the base trade? Classic, he stacks up the army. Is he recalling? Nope. Keeps going. Keeps pushing. Going for another hatchery. So that's going to be 2 hatcheries going down for 1 Nexus. Corruptors are racing back home. Corruptors race back. Classic pulls away. As we have a couple of lurkers moving in bottom right as well. At least trying to push up that ramp into the cannons. Oh, they're getting there. They're working their way through. As the gold is back up for Serral. Once again, Classic has to fight for said gold. And we'll see if we rotate towards the left or right hand side. It's pushing onto creep. Lance Revelation. Oof, we'll lose the Oracle. Oh, here come the Infestors. Yeah, lands a nice fungal, goes to the neural as well. Trying to recall out, getting caught, not bad. Catching a 1, 2, 3, 4 Tempest. Very nice catch. For a moment there, I was about to say infestates. I was like, what? No, it's getting late here in Australia, but aye. Does catch on with the neural. Oh, nice feedbacks. Tempo goes down. I mean, every gas unit does count here. Delta Cell run by. Hatchery will fall. Serral, he does transfer over too soon. Does burrow in time. So it's catching out one of the lurkers. Nice run by here by Classic. Takes down a lurker. Takes down 5 drones. 6 drones even. Main army is revealed. We can see Classic rotating on the left-hand side. And he does leave his mothership, so he can always recall. So it looks like the goal here for Classic is once again to deny 2 bases. He's going to push on the left, kill this expansion, and then recall on the right-hand side as well. Just bounce back and forth. Meanwhile, he's hunting for the mothership. He's going for it. Up! He finds it. Mothership goes down. There's a recall. Yeah, there's no aggressive recall on the right-hand side. But it will still cost Serral 2 bases. Cost him 2 hatcheries. There is still a base recall, of course. Ooh, this is ambitious. I don't know how I feel about this. As Classic is going for that center... Sorry, if he's going for center left. And going for one of Serral's expansions. Bold move. As Classic, he will lose his own expansion. Yeah, in Classic, this should not finish. As I mentioned, this is very ambitious and this expansion should not complete. Yeah, full surround on the Zealots. Classic, yes, yeah, there's a cancel. If he were ever to get that base up running, that would almost be game. But again, it shouldn't happen. Oh, that's a kill, not a cancel. Uh-oh. Corruptors. Finding the Oracle. And Classic, upon losing that center expansion, his bank, he's kind of working through it. He's working through that bank. Doesn't really have much left over. Serral, of course, thanks to the gold base, has the extra resources, as he did eventually secure the gold. Classic pushing on the left-hand side. Nice storms. Does deduct 1 carrier. Storms do connect. Yeah, Lings, they do break through the wall of cannons. Oh, the warp in, it gets denied. Classic getting torn apart here. Yeah, it gets torn apart. Everything gets depowered. There's the recall. Forced. He didn't want to, but he's forced to recall. Really big moment for Serral because now he knows, okay, you're down a recall. You're down a recall. Your army is, for the time being, less mobile. These are the sorts of things that Serral has to keep track of, is those recalls. To find these opportunities. There we go, another circling run by. And remember, this time there is no recall. Classic, does he have anything in position? He has some storms, okay. Storms are moving in. And with that Classic, he will defend. Oh. That's another Tempest. Again, this all slowly does add up. Catching a Tempest here and there. Classic has to retake that center base. Meanwhile, the gold at this point, it's already mined out. So Serral, he got away with it. He got away with it. It took a lot. It took a lot to fight for that gold, but he was able to, for the most part, fully mine. We saw that Classic took a little bit of resources away from the gold base. For the most part, it was in full control of Serral. In regards to where those resources went, mainly to Serral. With that goal base mining out, now everything just kind of rotates and transfers to the left-hand side instead. Oh. That's a couple of feedbacks. Classic rotating once again towards the left hand side. Going for the expansions. Big move here from Classic. He's moving in. Serral, oh, gets a Tempest. Classic overextends. One Tempest goes down. The Investor does survive, gets another Tempest. Oof. Yeah, Classic's just being pulled apart, just being torn apart here by the army. And again, despite there have been a lot of phases to this game. Initially, Serral, he was in full control. He was crippling Classic, but then Classic, he recovered. He had a crazy move when he was able to recall into the main base, kill the natural, and kill the triangular third, and kill Classic was popping off. But eventually, Serral, he was able to regain his composure, take that center goal base, pull apart his opponent with his own Ling run by his Ling harassment. And Serral, he should have this at this point. His bank is large enough where he can remax, and he should be okay with said remax as well, even if he were to take a bad fight, which I don't think he will. But even if he were to take a bad fight, like, he has enough to rebuild and remax and be able to maintain himself. Classic has just been bleeding out too many high-tech units early on, or throughout the course of the game. Of course, I mean, there is still a world, like, because of the high Archon count, it's... If Serral, like, apes in the Corruptors, if Serral runs out of patience, which I don't think he will, but, like, there's a world, like, I don't know, if Serral was Raynor, if he ever runs out of patience and moves in, and if the Archons get under the Corruptors, like, there is a world where Classic can take the fight. Nice Storm, right, for example. Nice Storm of the Corruptors. Like, the Corruptors can be annihilated. But, it'll take quite a bit for that to happen. It's all about that patience. Fungal's holding up. Classy trying to force his way in. Now the Storm lands. Storms a soften up the Corruptors. As at this point, he's also the Temple, losing most of Tempest. Nice powerbomb as well. He does dive in. Serral, he commits the Archons. They're gonna melt it to the the Corruptor's gonna melt to the Archons. And nice neurals though. Does kite back. The carriers, they push their way forward. And look at that, 50 Corruptors. 50 Corruptors in production. Oh my god. That's insane. There's 50 Corruptors on the way, and that's going to be the remax to win the fight in the sky. Broodlords are kept alive. We spoke about it. We spoke about if we can kill the Broodlords, then you can remax with the ground army, but Broodlords did live. And here come the 50 Corruptors. Jesus. It's a lot of Corruptors. And there's the Remax. There's Remax. He dives in. Again, he will dominate the sky. There are enough Broodlords left over. Yeah, and with that, Serral, he will clean up. He will clean up. He'll take down every single Tempest. Now, Corruptors, sorry, the Archons did survive, but again, that's what the Broodlords are for. And there are 12 Broodlords. Again, if the Broodlords were dealt with in the previous fight, then there would be a chance here for Classic. But the Broodlords survived, right? The Broodlords, they survived. Serral, he did take care of them. Did babysit the Broodlords. And Classic is out of money. Classic is out of money. The Broodlords are low. And there are no queens, so no transfuse. No healing pad for the Broodlords either. But Classic is broke. Both players down to one real base mining. Classic gets a long distance mine from the center base, center right. Meanwhile, Serral's taking center left. Now, Serral doesn't know how big the bank was for Classic, so he doesn't know that Classic has nothing. Like, he doesn't know how little Classic has, so he has to protect its expansion, right? He has to expand. That's why Serral isn't pushing. They're both out of money? Kind of. Like, Serral is expanding and he has a base that he's going to be able to take and he has a larger force to work with. So, on the one hand, yes, they're kind of out of money, but Serral, he's about to have an economy again. He's about to have an economy. Meanwhile, oh no! Does catch a couple of Corruptors. We do see that Serral, his Broodlords are responding to the Archons. So the Broodlords are now moving forward. The Broodlords, of course, are quite slow, so this is something that Classic can abuse. He can try to abuse the immobility here of Serral, and you can see that Serral, he just gives up on those bases. I mean, the bases don't really matter. Like, these hatcheries, they're not important. Classic can't even afford a Nexus, so he's stuck long distance mining. Serral, now you can see he has the economy. He has supply block though, so he has to try to break out of that. It's crazy how good Serral is in late game. I mean, so is Classic. Like, Classic, he had some really nice moves, and he was able to, like, recover from the early game as well. Like, I would say that Classic has the best late game PvZ, better than Max Packs, better than Hero, better than Showtime. Classic does recall out of there, bleeds out a couple of key units. Serral, who's just repositioning his headset. It's all good. Did leave his lurkers behind to defend. Oh! Trying to catch out the Corruptors here. One Infestor goes down as well. Yeah, a bit of rough positioning there from Serral, but he should be able to kite back. We'll lose one Broodlord. But yeah. You can see they just cannot close that distance. GG gets called, and Serral, he will take game number 1. Whew. GG. And again, we're expecting more of that in this series. Oh my god, the bottles, they just went flying. But GG, well played with that. Serral, he will take game number 1. He will take a lead in the series. But I'll be honest, there were points in this game where I didn't know if we would even get to the late game. Winding it back, remember what happened at the start of this game. Serral, he was able to drone up very quickly to 86. He was able to be the first to max out on Lingbane Hydra, and he went for a big drop lord push. He went for a tri-pronged attack. He went for a doom drop into the main base, Lingbane on the right, and then the main army on the left, and he killed 33 probes. He killed 33 workers. He crippled Classic, and Serral had a really strong start. And for a moment there, I believed that Serral was going to be able to kill Classic early. I believed he could, and Serral did as well. Serral, he remaxed again and again, and he just kept pushing. But Classic, he was just a wall. Like he's in recent times, he's been a stronger defensive player than Showtime even. Like Classic, he was able to weather that storm, able to somehow just fortify himself, max out, and make a late game out of that. Because of that, Serral, some of his tech was late. Some of his tech was delayed, referring to his Spire, referring to his second Spire, referring to his Spire upgrades as well. All of that was delayed just because I don't think he thought the game was going to go on as long as it did. And likewise, it was also late to saturate the gold as well. There was a couple of key moments there, This is the early moment. This is when he was able to get bust through and just get even more probe damage. That was after the damage was dealt. That was after the tri-pronged attack. So again, Serral, he had a much stronger early to mid game. Despite that, Serral, Classic, he bounced back, had his own strong moments as well. But as we were trying to emphasize, a lot of it came down to the gold. It came down to Serral, for the most part, being the player to mine out almost completely from the gold base. There were a couple of moments where Classic was able to take some minerals away, but for the most part, the gold was in favor of Serral, and Serral, he was able to have the greater economy, greater income, greater bank to work with, and in the end, that's what it came down to. GG well played. I say that's what it came down to. Classic did have some miscontrol when it came to some key units every now and then. It all adds up over time, but every now and then he would lose a Tempest here and there, a High Templar here and there, an Archon here and there, and in this kind of game, every unit counts, every bit of resource counts that much more, as we end up in a mined out game state. So GG well played. Serral does take it. Whew, but again, that was only game one, and again, based on the veto process, we expect more of this. Again, we're going to be getting into Maganatha, Tokamak, Incorporeal as well, at ley lines. Like, we have a lot of longer, larger maps out there to embrace, and despite the early game aggression, like, oh boy, let's go. We're loading into Incorporeal for game 2. So I think you hit the nail on the head with the gold base. That was crucial, 100%. Specifically on Persephone, just because, on Persephone, just because it is so difficult to take your opponent's bases on Persephone. So like the gold is the base on Persephone for the late game. But here we go. Spawning in the bottom right hand corner of Incorporeal, we have the South Korean Protoss player. We have the red Protoss. It is Classic. And spawning in the top left-hand corner, we have the blue Zerg. It is Serral for Basilisk. Here we go. Whew. That's what jumping into game 2, and yo, shout out to the players because they did not ask for a break. I'm sure the organizers and admins were more than happy to provide them a break after game 1, but nah, they're like, keep it going, pappy. Give us more StarCraft. So okay, let's go. Oh. Hands off the keyboard for a moment. Setting up. Don't forget to stretch, everyone. True, don't forget to stretch. 4 games left. Let's go. Classic isn't going to rush. As we were emphasizing, Classic, he is one to go for aggression if he sees an opening. If you weren't here for the beginning of the last game, remember, Serral went for very safe. He went for a very safe start. Remember, he went for a safe Roach Warren timing as well. It was hidden, but in case we saw Classic try to punish Serral for skipping Roaches, Serral, he hid his Roach Warren behind his main. So a really cheeky move out of Serral to hide it the way that he did, to try to bait Classic to go into charge or go into glaives, as Classic has been one to do. So I'm sure we'll see that at some point in the series. For now, though, we're settling in. Imagine a best of 9. No shot. So now Stargate opener out of Classic. opening up Stargates, setting it with an Oracle, going for a third. Now, Classic, he has been playing around a little bit with Phoenix openers, so we'll see if he does go for a Phoenix first, then into Oracle or not here in game number 2. But welcome on all to Incorporeal. Incorporeal is a larger map in the map pool. What I will say, the big difference between Incorporeal and Persephone is the bases themselves are more spread out. The bases are more spread out here on Incorporeal, so as we get into a 5 base economy, less so 4 bases, but more so 5 bases, 5 and 6 bases, and 7 bases, that is where you're more spread out, that is where more difficult to defend, to maintain your bases, and to keep up with the aggression of your opponent. So we'll see if we get to that kind of game state as well. I would say that it is easier on this map to take your opponent's bases though. Like, I can see a world where you can take both center expansions. I'm talking about center left and center right, depending on map control, depending on positioning, especially because of the ramp. Like, as you can see, there's a ramp coming up into both center expansions, so that means that you can actually take control of the ramp and maintain that position even as the opposing faction from the other side. So it can be more difficult, or I should say it's more easier to take those bases, and can be more difficult to expand in those locations as well if you're lacking map control. Whereas it's hardest to do that on Persephone, except for the gold, right? Like, the gold is the only one you can fight for. Here you can fight for a lot more bases, so momentum can swing a little bit more heavily into whoever has map control. For now though, now that we're calming down, is going to be a double Oracle opener out of Classic. No Phoenix, just double Oracle. Lings, they poke in. The Oracles are across the map. Uh-oh, the Stalker is going to go down. Does fully wall off, a nice catch on the Stalker. Likewise, ultimizes the shield battery. Gets not quite on top of the pylon. True. True, I forgot. The finals are best of 9, so there is a world where this is a precursor to the finals. Remember, this is not an elimination match. Like, both these players can still advance on into the playoffs, both Serral and Classic. So there's a chance that we might even have them both in the finals. Oh no. Hopefully someone can stop that from happening. You ain't seen nothing yet. As things they peel off into the main. Just getting a full scout. Once again, it's going to be +1 and blink into Storm. On 3 bases, so a very safe play here by Classic. Very defensive. Meanwhile, Serral, he's going for a really fast infestation, but oh my god. Wait, what? Sorry, my apologies. He's droning, getting an Evo Chamber for +1, but that's such a fast pit. Okay. He's being quite greedy. Yeah, he's being very greedy here. We have Hydrogen on the way. Infestation bit, that means we're rushing into a hive, rushing into the lurkers, I would imagine. So really greedy play here from Serral. Much more than last game. Tech-wise greedy. Yeah, there it is. That is a 630 hive. That is so fast. Insanely fast hive. And I believe that should be for insanely fast lurker tech. As the hive is on the way, we're waiting for the lurker den. I mean, this is just so gas intensive. So far he's on, what, 6 gases? Double expanding. There it is, there's that lurker den. So yeah, just insanely fast lurker tech out of Serral. Now, because of the scout, this is a really good call. Remember, what did he see with the scouts, with the Overlord, with the Overseer? He saw the Temple Archives. He saw the Temple Archives, he saw the tech, he saw the lack of gateway explosion. So he saw that Classic was being hyper defensive, but just hyper defensive on 3 bases, slowly getting a 4th base. He recognized that Classic was not being aggressive whatsoever. So Serral is taking advantage of Classic's passivity here. He is taking advantage. And again, just rushing into Hive, which so far is unscouted. The correct call from here would be for Classic to start taking up into Sky Toss, but he's not aware. For now, just securing his 4th. And we just spoke earlier about how, specifically on Incorporeal, it is easier to take your opponent's bases away from them. So I can see a world where even if Serral does not break Classic here and now, even if he doesn't break the 4-base setup, know what he could do? He could take his bases. So we'll see. As here comes the Nidus Worm. Nidus is on the way. Serral is drawn up to 87. Serral, he will soon max out. And we'll see if Serral can break Classic. We'll see if he can break him. Otherwise, he will have to settle for just containing him. That's a lot of stack defense. Again, Classic setting up defensively here with walls of cannon, shield batteries. There we go. Fleet Beacons on the way. Stargates on the way. Getting ready for Sky Toss. Double Adept getting a couple of drone kills across the map. Nidus is almost done. We have vision here into the main. And Classic does not actually have full vision of his own main. I believe he's about to. Yes, Classic is now taking a 5th. Is that the Nidus in the main? I'm trying to look at the minimap. Otherwise, that could just be the Overlords. Yeah. Just the Overlords for the time being. Nidus towards the left-hand side. Yep, there it is. Does go for the Nidus. Looking for a way in. So far, nice storms. Remember, Serral, he's maxed out. He is maxed out. You can see the main army of Classic. He doesn't respond to this. Ooh, and we can see the main force going for the 5th. And the 5th base should be cancelled, should be denied. There it is. There's a cancel. Nice pick off here by Serral. Nice, the 5th expansion. Classic pushing through the center. Tempest are revealed. Lurkers are moving in. And we just see Classic just send it right down mid. He just avoids the Lurkers. It's like, you know what? You can have it. You can have the base. I mean, he has Tempest to defend. Oh, he's getting caught out, though. Yeah, the High Templar are surrounded. Losing one High Templar. The others do get away. But this was not worth it here for Classic. He will lose the army. Across the map, he will lose the expansion. There's just so many Lurkers. He's only relying on 2 Tempests to defend. Only 2 Tempests. That's not enough. Zealots, they do hit top right. They hit the northern base, the northern expansion. There we go. Nexus goes down. Classic down to 3 bases. And Serral's holding. Yeah, Serral, he holds, he defends, he maxes out. And remember, we were discussing how spread out these bases are on Incorporeal, and that's coming into play here. Where Classic, he just cannot quite defend. And here comes Serral, moving further in. Again, these bases are just more accessible on Incorporeal. There we go, Nidus is complete. Now pushing in towards the 3rd. Now, I understand that last game, it was similar in the sense that Classic lost a lot of workers, but this time he's not just losing workers, he's losing bases. That's what matters here. He's losing expansions. And he will soon be knocked down to 2 bases. And Classic does have a terrifying main army, but you can see that Serral, he's been avoiding the main fight. He's been avoiding the main army. There we go, takes down the Nexus. From here, he can go back into the Nidus. And the rush into Hive Tech paid off. Because of how passive Classic was. Remember, that's how this all started. It was a 630 Hive. Like, that's crazy. But Classic was just so passive this game. I say so passive, so defensive. Maybe a better way of putting it. But Serral now going for the Spire. Taking center left. Ooh, Prism goes down. Brutal pickoff. Catching the Prism, pushing further in, once again towards the 3rd. And Classic kind of hold on. This will not be a 45-minute game. Not this time. As Classic is here to end it. Sorry, Serral is here to end it early. Takes down 19 probes. Pulls away, remaxes. Again, Classic has been attempting these run-bys, these counterattacks, but for the most part, Serral's been keeping up. Let out a couple of workers here and there, but for the most part, does defend. And here we go. Now we have 16 Corruptors in production. Now we have some anti-air, and you can see the pressure on a Classic. Again, you can see how frustrating it is as well. He's like, just fight me head on. Like, I can take it. So it's like, get away from me. Ah. Yeah, this Classic is just trying to poster. At this point, he's going for an all-in. Like, Classic, he's down to 2 bases, but he does have a large army, so he can commit to an all-in. Lurkers, they outposition Classic, pushing into the natural, and we're going for the base trade. Classic, he has to go for the base trade. He cannot push into his own bases, as his natural is forfeits. Technically, Serral could just go for the elimination. He could just kill all the buildings, if he wanted to. As we do see the Nidus, so Serral, he races back home. Never mind, so he races back home. Serral, he will lose top right. But he should be able to kill the other expansions of Classic. Yes, probes are being pulled away. Classic, he can always recall. Oof. As he does lose control of his natural. Classic trying to expand, double expanding even. Oh, here come the Corruptors. Oh, doesn't quite get one. Barely doesn't get the Tempest. As we have Neural on the way. Now, Classic does save the expansions. I did mention, like, this is not going to be a 45-minute game. Is there a world where can Classic stabilize? No shot. No shot. Alright, that's a kill. That's a kill, not a cancel. There's the recall back home. I had assumed that the Lurkers would be left behind to kill, but they didn't. They did not kill the hatcheries. So they didn't kill the Nexus, I meant to say. So Classic, you know, he has a decent base count. He has a semblance of an economy. Let's go. Can he slow this down? Can he recover? I mean, maybe. Hope not, but... Again, has been slowly building up that main army. It is looking terrifying. As we see, Classic rotate towards the left. Now, as he moves on the left, that's what Serral has to counterattack. Ideally. This is when he pushes it on the right-hand side, but he's getting caught out. Yeah, Lurkers are going down. Classic does take the fight, catching on the Infestor as well. Serral does move in. Broodlords are morphing in. He has a handful of Broodlords. Does land a Fungal, a bit of a messy engage here. Gets one Tempest. Gets one of the Tempest. I mean, Classic is still controlling this quite well. Archons are trying to move in. Breaks through the Lurker line. No more defensive Lurkers. Uh-oh. Classic. He's pushing through. Again, the ground army just isn't there. Whether it's Lurker or Broodlord, he needs something Still, he has 0 lurkers. No shot. Okay, 10. He's up to 10 lurkers. I don't know where they are, but they're out there. Okay, they're on the right. Let's go to 10 lurkers. He's in position. Meanwhile, Class is just bullying his way into the bases. Serral, he just can't engage too freely. And that's going to be a free natural. It's a free natural going down. Serral, he's in trouble here. He's losing workers. Like, he has no shot. No shot. Classic. He's popping off. Lands the storms. Storms are landing. Ooh, brutal fungal though. He will lose the ground army. Yeah, there we go. The ground army goes down, and Serral, he will collapse on this army. He takes down the mothership. Whew. Jesus. And again, a lot of this came down to the fact that Serral, he didn't deny these bases, but he does kill center right. There it is. GG gets called. That was closer than it needed to be. That was... That was disturbingly close, and Serral does take game number 2. Whew, GG, well played. Again, a very greedy build by Serral, winding it back. As a reminder, what happened this game? As a reminder, Serral, he identified early on that Classic was being very tech heavy, that Classic was not being aggressive. Specifically, what was Classic doing? He was going into his Stargate opener, into his 3rd base, into early Storm, lower gateway count into a 4th base. Once Serral identified this, he drone up very heavily. He got a very fast infestation bit, and he started his hive at 630. Really fast hive tech, really fast infestation bit, really fast lurkers, and a really fast max out on Ling Hydra lurker. With that, we saw that Serral was able to, with the help of the Night Swarms, he was able to pull apart his opponent. He broke the linear 3rd base, he broke the 4th base, he was pulling Classic apart, sniping base after base, crippling the economy by just denying bases. At a certain point, Classic was down to 2 bases. He was down to 2 Nexi. That's all he had. And we saw that Serral, he had a really... some of his decision making was a little bit brutal. Specifically, I'm referring to when Classic base traded. The first time when he pushed top right, we assumed that Serral was going to at least kill the natural and the 3rd, but he didn't. He left like 1 or 2 lurkers behind, and that wasn't actually enough. So Classic saved the bases. He also killed the expansions across the map with his main army, and he actually made that again a lot closer than it should have been. Like, it was an impressive comeback there by Classic to snipe bases after bases. Again, the main army of Classic was still terrifying. It was built up over time, and Serral, he misjudged when it comes to how much he should have left behind to kill those expansions, which did not go down, which allowed Classic to maintain himself. Wasn't enough to fully recover and to gain a lead, but it was enough to make a game out of that. And again, it was looking a little closer than it needed to be towards the end there. Regardless, GG. Serral takes a 2-0 lead, and Serral needs 1 more game to claim the series. Quickly checking the Wikipedia page here, the next game is going to be on... No break? Really? Next game is going to be on Ley Lines. It's going to be Ley Lines, then Magnatha, then Tokamak. And no break? Okay. Usually, in EWC so far, if a player is down 2-0, usually they request a break, but no. Classic is going head first. He's sending it. Let's go. Here we go. We're getting into potentially the final game of the broadcast. In the right hand corner, we have Classic for almost at Twisted Minds for Virtus Pro. And spawning in the bottom hand corner, we have the blue Zerg player. It is Serral for Basilisk. Let's go. Whew. Let us go. So we're getting into game 3, potentially the final game of the series. Personally, I'm hoping for a game 4, I'm hoping for a game 5, but the pressure is on Classic. Again, a lot of these games have been very close, very intense. For the most part, though, we have seen that Serral has been the aggressor, both in game 1 and game 2 in different ways. Remember, in game 1, we saw Serral very quickly max out and be hyper aggressive with Ling Bane Hydra. In game 2, he was very greedy with his tech, maxed out with Ling Hydra Lurker, with really fast Lurker tech. But both games, Serral has been abusing the passivity of Classic. Does that continue here? Classic, he has been known to be aggressive. We saw that even earlier yesterday in his series against Rogue. He is willing to be aggressive, willing to be in your face, but he has not done so against Serral. That hasn't happened so far in this series. He has been more defensive, he has been more passive, and Serral has been abusing that. He's been abusing that fact. So it isn't like, oh, you know, both players are just chilling and macroing. It's like, no, like Serral, he is identifying the more defensive stance here of Classic every time, and has been, again, abusing that by being very greedy, by droning up really, really hard, and then being the first to max, being the first to push. So again, it's been overall different kind of like builds, I suppose, or different end goals from Serral in Game 1 and Game 2, but he got there the same way, in a sense. So we'll see if Classic does adjust. We'll see if he does adjust. 10 Archons on 4 full high NG Tempest, oh sorry, Templar make Tempest pretty much immune, so as soon as Classic either he made that stable. Kind of, like when I say stable, he had a stable main army where he could take fights, but it was his economy which was surprisingly, do I want to say sturdy, or at least keeping up with Serral, just because, as we mentioned, right, like he did kind of misjudge what to leave behind, how much it would take to kill some of these bases, and surprisingly, Classic, he held on to them. He held on to the next side, held on to the bases. And again, did make it as close as it was, which is crazy. On top of that, of course, building up his main army. But here we go. Getting into our next game. See in the chat, software made Quake, Epic Games made Unreal Tournament. Oh, thank you. Thank you for letting me know. In my mind, they were close enough to be from the same company, but I guess not. So my apologies, my apologies. Different company. Thank you for letting me know. How does recall work? Is it area effect or unit counts? Area of effect. That's why typically whenever you see a recall, the army has to stack as closely together as possible to be able to recall. Or to get as much as you can in said recall. Yeah. I just realized we haven't had an Unreal Tournament in a long time. I think the last time was Unreal Tournament 3. Jesus. Regardless, we do have a faster EVA chamber at a Serral. That's going to be a just barely sub 4-minute EVA chamber, so +1 melee on the horizon once again. We have seen Serral go +1 melee every game so far in different ways, but has gotten there. Meanwhile, we do see Classic going for his own standard opener, Oracle into a third. Into Tech of Choice, into Twilight Council, Forge, +1 and Blink, we're expecting. So here we go. So far, Oracles, they poke into the bases. There's that standard tech follow-up. We can see that Serral, he's going for a safety Roach Warren. Again, once again, this is similar to game 1. Safety Roach Warren by Serral. So if Classic were to go into Glaives, were to go into Charge, then Classic will be ready. Sorry, Serral will be ready. Stasis trap into the main base. Once again, Serral, he does pull away in time. Baits out the Stasis with a Spore Trick. Oh my god. Or he does save his drone with a Spore Trick, I should say. So nice moves. Oh, even intercepting the Oracle as well. Meanwhile, we do have 11 Nevs moving out. Oh, I do apologize. I believe that was a third gateway before tech. So 11 Nevs here for Classic. So he's being more aggressive. He's being in the face of his opponent. And Roach production has begun. Does fully wall off. Uh-oh. Does fully wall. So far, this has not done damage. It's denying mining at least. But I do apologize. Was otherwise distracted. Did miss that third gateway. As one queen goes down, there's the recall. And Serral, he maintains his economy. Not bad. He maintains his workers. From here, he can drone, he can saturate. Ooh, good supply block for a moment. And this is a big investment here from Classic. When you go into this many adepts, it does slow down your tech. It means that Blink is late. It was later Blink, it was later +1 in favor of this gateway explosion, or in favor of these Stalkers or Adepts. It's 5 a.m. here, so I do apologize if I've been misspeaking a little bit more, like in the past couple of minutes, so I do apologize. Have been misspeaking. Yeah. Okay, we gotta lock in. As at least Classic did maintain the Adepts. Threatening a Shade. Overs here into the main, gets eyes on the on Storm, gets eyes on the tech. As things like collapse on the Stalkers, they get one, they get two, not bad. Two Stalkers going down. Lings, they threaten to dive into the mid line. They scout the reinforcing Stalker, so he knows that there's no charge. He also confirms all the High Templar. And from here, Serral, he's taking. Oh boy, we're taking up into a longer game. We do have the Infestation, but that's going to be for the Hive. That's going to be for Lurker Tech. Meanwhile, this time Classic, he does have a little bit more map presence. I spoke too soon. He gets caught out, gets surrounded, and he will lose most of these Adepts. Does shade away with two? With one. One Adept does shade away. Serral droning up to 80. But again, because of the denied mining time, the droning here and the economy for Serral is later than previously. So it's a delayed economy. So Classic, he'll be able to secure his fourth. He's securing his fourth base. Nice counterattack. Yes, Classic is being much more assertive this time, pushing out with Storm. Yeah, Storm is done. Baiting out 1, 2 Storms, Lings coming from behind. Storms are connecting. That was the final Storm, though. Ooh, the final Storm. And Classic, he's going to get punished here. There we go. We have a couple of Storms left over. Actually, a lot of Storms. Oh, my God. Storms are connecting, but the Roaches, they can tank. They're built to tank. The army is trapped. And so many Stalkers will go down. And brutal losses here for Classic. Ay, ay, ay. And he's not ready back at home. That was the entire army crumbling. Again, someone in the chat did call, Toxicity did call Classic going for early game aggression here in game 3. I mean, he went for it. Did go for it with the commitment into Adepts. With the follow-up Storm push. But again, Serral played safe. Remember, Serral, he went for the Roaches. He went for the early Roach Warren, and he made use of it. He made use of the early Roach Warren here. He wasn't too greedy. He played it safe. With the help of those Roaches, he shuts down both the Adepts and the Storm timing. And Serral, he will be the first to max. He'll be the first to max out. Now, because of that move out, and because of this commitment, it means that Classic Sky Toss is going to be later than previously. So later Sky Toss, later Fleet Beacon. As a result, Classic is in danger. He's very much so in danger here. I appreciate that Classic did shake things up here, but again, so he was secure. We see Classic double expanding. But really what we're waiting for are the Lurkers. We're just waiting for the Lurkers, and then Serral could move out. And I'll be honest, can Classic defend against that? It'll come down to the Storms. It comes down to High Templar. If he can land some good Storms, then he can try to buy some time and defend his bases, his fourth. But you can see that Classic, that Serral is already splitting up his army. He's splitting up. He has a force on the right, force on the left. That is a lot of Storms, though. True. Serral going for the massive Dune drop again, very similar to game 1. As the drop lords, I believe they morph in bottom right, and are they loaded up? They're about to be. Great response. Oh, not just dropping with Lings, dropping with Lurkers as well. You can see that Classic is taking up into Skytoss, into Tempest. But again, Classic is in a worse position. He needs more time. And here comes the Doom Drop. No recall, no energy. Yeah, no energy for a recall. Main army's being delayed. Serral at the same time pushing towards a fourth. There's a wall of cannons. Okay. Wall of cannons in position. And I believe Classic should be able to hold here. Yeah, he should hold on. He does pull away his workers. And the game will continue. I had assumed that at least the Nexus would go down, but that's not the case. The Lurkers, they did not do enough damage. Now we see the Lurkers trying to move in. But still, this is not good enough. Yeah, trying to trade with the army. Serral pulls away. Tempest are revealed. And we're gonna slow this down. Okay. I wasn't sure if Classic could defend. But we are looking to slow this down. Classic building up. We have tectonic destabilizers on the way. +1 air attack. Serral likewise working towards his own anti-Skytress army with the Spire. Oof. Yeah, again, Classic, he's the new shield of Ire, papi. True. He's taken up the shield. Who is stats? Step aside. As Classic is maxing out. I still feel like his army is still a little bit lacking in regards to the support for the Skytoss, but he's getting there. Like, he's slowly refining, building up more High Templar, more Archons. We can see Serral going for another Doom Drop. It feels like he desperately wants to get more damage done, as this is quite a dedicated Doom Drop into the natural. There we go. Jumping in. Likewise, jumping into the main base at the same time. So jump into the main, jump into the natural, and the main army here towards the 5th. And Classic, he just ignores it. He just goes straight for the kill. Straight across. And Serral, can he hold on? He can't save the bases. Yeah, he cannot save the expansions. Remember, half his supplies across the map with the drops. Classic gets the hatchery, takes down 17, 18 drones. And workers that would pin back. At the same time, Lings they deny the 6th. Natural goes down. That's a kill. Okay. Does kill the base. We're going for a pseudo base trade. Classic, he's racing home. Oh my god. He does race back home. The Lings, they're popping off. They kill not just the natural, they're going for the 3rd. And Serral, he should kill the 3rd base as well. Lurkers moving further in. Yep, there it is. 3rd base goes down. Getting on top of more of the production. A very successful drop here. Initially, it looked like it wasn't going to do enough, but I thought Classic was just going to send it across the map. He didn't. I thought it was just going to go all in. But no, Classic, he's back home. He races back home. And he will defend, but at what cost? He already lost the mineral lines. He already lost the bases. He already lost the workers. He's not saving anything. And he's being torn apart. Yeah, just being torn apart here. Serral, he's all over him, taking down another expansion. Yeah, Classic feeling the pressure. Again, it was a very intense game 1 where Classic had a crazy comeback. But coming into game 3, Serral, he was able to survive, able to defend, able to shut down the aggression of his opponent, of Classic. Again, just really safe play out of Serral. And Classic's all in, like he has nothing left. Down to 42 workers. He's down to 1 base economy. He's down to a 1 base economy. Serral, he'll bleed out a couple of lurkers. At the same time, more Lings moving in for a counterattack. I think the one thing that we're missing here are Corruptors. We have +1 air attack on the way, but no Corruptors yet. Just going for more Ling run-bys. 50 more probe kills. Oh, no. Recall's on cooldown. Natural's going to be denied. Now going for the main. And there it is. There are already 17 corruptors. Oh god. That's going to be enough. That's more than enough at this point. Again, I feel like the biggest moment for Classic would have been the counterattack, would have been the base trade. I'm referring to the moment where he pushed and he killed the center left hatchery. Center left base. But he turned around. He turned around and he raced back home. He chose not to base trade. I don't think I've seen that before. Is that is that an adapted ghost copy pasta for recall? I have never seen that before. To be fair, I also don't watch like ESL mainstream or anything like that, so I'm very outdated when it comes to my copy pastas, as I haven't seen the main Twitch chat or the ESL Twitch chat in a couple of years. Base trade with Zerg is very risky. True. I mean, just imagine recall. As GG gets called, does storm the army, but again, there's just nothing left here for Classic. And Serral, he will take the series 3-0. He will take down Classic. Game 1 was an insane back and forth, ultra late game. But Game 2 and Game 3, again, we saw a very different kind of setup, very different outcome. Congratulations, though, to Serral for claiming the series 3-0. Again, Game 1 was the most intense, the closest one, I would say, where both players had their own moments, where Classic had the insane comeback in Game 1, and it barely didn't go his way. Again, just a little bit too inefficient, bleeding out too many units over the course of that game, and he was not able to stop Serral from claiming the gold. Game 2 was very different. Game 2 was Serral abusing Incorporeal, abusing how spread out the bases are. He was able to be so greedy against Classic, rushing into Hive, rushing into Lurkers, and pulling Classic apart. Here, Game 3, Classic was the aggressor. Classic, he did open up with a faster third gateway, going for early 11 adept aggression into an earlier storm timing, but Serral was playing safe. Serral had the safety Roach Warren. He did invest into Roaches after seeing the opener of his opponent, and despite the more aggressive build of Classic, did not do enough. For a moment there, I thought that maybe Classic would stabilize and slow the game down and get a 5-base setup, but not the case. Oh my god. Take it away, Sandstorm.
Serral, congratulations.
Take it away.
Right into that first game. It was looking like, it was, I want to say, like similar fashion to how you lost in DreamHack Dallas. How were you able to change things around in this game, or in the first game rather?
Yeah, I was getting some flashbacks already when the recall got into my main and I lost the main and Nat. But yeah, I mean, I still had the confidence. I knew that if I just take good enough fights, it should be good enough, and that kind of ended up happening.
The confidence.
One big fight at the like top left ones, but besides that, it was pretty decent fights all the time. So I know if that's happening, I can always win.
It did go pretty back and forth in that first game, but the second one seemed a little bit more decisive.
Yo, how much pressure is on the headphones?
The switch. You had
Hold on.
aggression in the first one, and then you switched it up with Hive.
You can see the red marks on Serral's cheek. That's from the headset. Jesus. Like it's like squeezing his head. Calm down. But that's the red mark on his cheek.
He doesn't really scout for a Hydra Bane, but now he was scouting it.
Jesus.
For it, so I didn't really want to necessarily do it again. I instead went for the Nidus Lurker play. That it's interesting, but it works quite well because the Queens just are so tanky and the Lurkers are so tanky that it's actually really hard to break a position.
Calm
like
down with the
always.
headsets.
But yeah, I just wanted to mix it up a little bit, and also the map wasn't that great.
Yeah, I mean, you definitely mixed it up, but still, sensational ending. Did you think that you were going to be able to take down Classic in a 3-0 fashion in the best of 5?
I thought it was possible, but at the same time, Classic's really good right now, and I thought this series could go either way. It's all of the games are really close even now, so it's always a little bit luck involved as well, who wins some of those games. So I was kind of hoping for that, you could say.
Well, at the end of the day, you managed to get that 3-0. Congratulations, you make it into the top 8. Thank you very much for joining us, Serral. And now over to the studio to break down that last game of the day. And we still have 2 more days ahead of us here at the SNB Esports Arena for StarCraft at EWC.
GG. We'll be heading on over here to the casting couch. I got you. Hold on. We'll hear from the boys. We'll hear from them.
At all here in what was a very, very clear victory for our Finnish phenom. Joining me in Rotterdam, we have Lambo as well as ZG to talk about this one. Lambo, what did you make of the series as a whole?
I mean, this overall didn't quite go as I expected because I thought Classic would mix it up a little bit more. Instead, it was Serral bringing some aggression.
It was Serral, yeah.
But still always going into the late game. And then in the late game, I do think Serral is a little bit better than Classic. Even though I think Classic is probably the best Protoss in late game as well, but Serral is just so
Yeah, I would agree. I think Classic is the best
like,
late game
I feel
Protoss.
motivated to try out late game myself.
Yeah.
Then I play against these players. I get completely stumped. And I'm like, man, I got baited again by Yona. but yeah, I mean, he's just so good at this. Like, once he gets the perfect army, it's so difficult to take engagements against him.
Roddy?
First game was, well, a 40-something minute game. We had the 51 Corruptor rematch.
Never seen it.
I was starting to have some PTSD
51
from
Corrupt,
that was
that was
like,
crazy.
Is this where he's going to end up with only Corruptors and one Arcanist is going to kill him again? But this time we had enough Broodlords. We had a couple of Lurkers as well. Obviously a bizarre game that could have gone either way. I do feel like it broke Classic a little bit mentally. The second and the third game were nowhere near as close as the first.
Minus 400, minus 400 dealt. That's amazing.
Very observant of our post-match.
Water
man.
bottle
Two
sniped.
Water bottles were indeed thrown to the ground, sniped by Serral. Never mind.
Taste hostess
the
tangents?
demise
I
of
didn't.
Classic coming that way.
We weren't
Yeah,
aware of that,
sat funny.
unfortunately.
What's going on here? Let me sit properly. I've gotten too comfortable throughout the day. But ZG, Serral obviously.
I appreciate
showing
the
that
stats.
For Classic, yeah, I'm no rogue. I am going to be able to win out in these late games quite handedly and then do the mix-ups like Lambo was suggesting.
Yeah, you know, Classic I don't think was surprised by that, but after the Dallas, he probably was thinking that he would be able to actually take one of these games, especially some of those games where he actually absolutely had some winning or good positions. But yeah, it kind of feels like it is back to the old situation, like maybe last year's EWC, where we're just like, well, Serral wins everything apparently. I do want to shout out just how high level that was overall, though. It just felt like, I mean, I didn't quite get the same feeling I want to try late game Zerg, because that sounds terrible to me, but I looked at it and I was like, well, the Zerg player, like, oh no, he actually made the Nidus Swarm. Like, oh, the Lurkers actually popped out and he retreated with them. And then the other side, Classic was just, his control over his army was amazing. His ability to try and find engagements was still rock solid. It's just like Serral was a little bit better, right? And it just felt like it was still some of the highest PDZ that you could possibly see, but it was a 3-0. You know, it's one of those series as well, I think you say, yeah, it was 3-0. Serral absolutely is very, very good, but Classic really brought it. Those games were interesting.
I agree. They got my heart rate pacing as well, as though as you see the Lurkers in 3 spots at any given time in that in the last game there, Lambo. So that's brutal for a Protoss to deal with, and Classic was somehow still kind of trying his way through a little.
Yeah, I mean, the way Classic always stayed alive was pretty crazy. Even in the second game, I think he was back down to 2 bases at some point, and he still stayed alive for like 10 extra minutes. He was very, very good with unit retention. He's also super good with high Templar movement.
He's referring to the game on Incorporeal.
Not losing them for free. I mean, he's also a master of the late game.
Let's take a look at the results throughout the day then, as we have had some great best
but wanting just to wrap up that series as well, I think the most important part, as we were trying to point out, is that we were discussing how in preparation for this, Serral, he was specifically preparing a lot of his late game with Showtime, and my question was, well, how were those games like unfolding, right? Because we didn't get an answer from that from Lambo from that practice. Now we see the result of that is that he was preparing not just for the late game, but he was preparing to set up for the late game in a better position. Because again, it wasn't like Serral was being passive. Like, no, he was the first to recognize the passivity of his opponent, be greedy, and then be aggressive with that to punish Classic, to make it difficult for Classic to get into a comfortable late game. We saw that in game 1, we saw that in game 2 as well. I think that's what's important, is that Serral was aggressive, and it was a really cool kind of adaptation from Serral. Like, as we mentioned, clearly he has been preparing for Classic, and I would imagine in a rematch from here, Classic, he will have a different approach. Now he's like, oh, like this is not the same Serral, right? This is not the same Serral that we saw at DreamHack Dallas. Now he's better prepared for that kind of late game situation, and I would imagine, will most likely be seeing something more aggressive from Classic the next time we see him if they face off in a rematch.
Everybody is preparing for these
Something more aggressive, something more
right?
decisive.
Because you're trying to win the trophy. If you're Serral, you're going to take a look at Classics replays. You're going to take a look at Maru. You're going to think about Rainer, all of this. And maybe if you're like a Shin or a Rogue, somebody that's not maybe a top favorite to win everything, they might not all be as prepared for you as they might be for someone like Maru, someone like Serral.
Well, looking back at all the key crushes throughout the day as well, of course, for Classic, his key will not be crushed. He does have another opportunity down towards that lower bracket, ZG. And I do expect the Classic fight back. I think that
I love the reaction shots every time.
Time has been strong.
I love it.
It just shows that there is definitely weakness there going up against someone like the Phenom.
Well, yeah, I mean, this is the biggest test for most players, right?
Yeah.
It was last year, and this year you kind of have to include Clem as well. But it really is still the biggest test. Again, even though, like we talked about it yesterday, Serral doesn't play in all these online tournaments where you get to constantly track just how dominant he is. But when he ever goes into a big tournament, you know that he's favored in a lot of those scenarios. And I definitely had Classic also making it through from the bracket. So I think that's still very, very likely. But obviously, there's been a lot of great contenders that are waiting there in the lower bracket, too.
I wonder if... do you think you'd flinch, Roddy?
Maybe a little bit, because it just seems a lot more violent this year. Last year it was a little bit silly, where it was like, and it was like, boop, and it's like it bent a little bit.
Yeah, we were pointing out as well, like last year they only bent them.
No competition, more ruthless.
Here they're going ham.
I'm not sure if you guys are actually next to the stage when this happens, but I was there when the first key got broken, and I was flinching while I was on the side of the stage even. It's super loud. It's actually crazy. Yeah.
Showtime was so ready. He was like holding his ears before anything had happened, way ahead in advance. But yeah, so good old time here at the Esports World Cup. Let's take a look at Group
just catching
A
up,
and the results
catching
that
up.
have come in from that so far. We confirmed
In the chat.
2 names in that upper bracket, as it will be Clem and Maru. Obviously, the Maru Rainer series was very close. ZG. It could have gone either way, but Maru did prevail.
Yeah, that was a 6 series as well, but that was also a real...
Next match, Rainer versus Zaun. It's going to be Clem and Maru making through. Yes, we have Rainer versus Zaun. We have Sola versus Shin as well. That's going to be tomorrow. It's going to be tomorrow's matches.
And to tackle Rainer, who was obviously playing very well, is a really good testament to how much of a chance he has to even win EWC.
Group B as well, as we have ourselves Hero and Serral moving through. The 4 names that we already have at the very top here, Roddy. Nobody's going to scoff at that.
2 Terrans, 1 Protoss, 1 Zerg. David Kim has done it again, 2025. He's still delivering. But Group B obviously awesome, and I'm sure we can talk about it a little bit more. But I have one question for Lambo. Tomorrow, Group A, lower bracket, Shin Solar, baby. Expectations.
I have fantastic expectations for that match. I don't think the matches are going to last quite as long as the ones
Yeah, they're not
going
going to be long. No shot.
I think it's going to be some fireworks. Solar told me he's very confident if the games go normal. But he knows that Shin has a million build orders, so yeah.
So for once, Solar is the one worried about ZvZ getting weird?
He is, yeah, he is. But also, he told me he's very confident in standard play, and I'm like, but you all in every game, right? And he's like, yeah, but that's my standard. He said, if it's
I was about to say.
match first, that's good for me.
Okay, all right.
I was about to say that, like, hearing Sola say that he's confident in his standard play, I'm like, he doesn't play standard in ZvZ, and he's like, no, yeah, that's what he's saying. It's like, okay. He's confident with his cheese.
He's gonna get a couple of feedbacks here, and then eventually he storms it, and he gets those 2 medevacs. But this was such a spectacular game, by the way, by Beyond. Even if he lost those medevacs, it was awesome, really fun series. This was a fantastic play, by the way, by Rogue. The tunneling claw roaches in the natural, in the main, while obviously with an all-out assault at the 3rd. I love it.
Yeah, this was the earlier mech game that we had between Rogue and Gabe.
So continue on. I thought it was an excellent follow-up, because sometimes, even when you do a lot of damage like that earlier attack did, it's still very possible for a Terran player to come back, especially when, I mean, everyone's going to shout out mules, right? But just the cost efficiency of the mech army.
Brain squeeze at max. Yeah, I mean, it wasn't just like the red cups around Serral's face, but there was a mark there as well, I think, from the cord.
Overall so far, Lambo.
So very tight headsets.
In these types of tournaments where it's very preparation heavy, he has a little bit of time to prepare for his opponents. Time in general to just cook up a bunch of build orders, like at home before the tournament started. Yeah, a month now, I guess, or a little bit less since he qualified through the GSL.
I guess I'll stick with you, Lambo, because what have you made of the Reina versus Maru series? Obviously, you were in Reina's corner in the past, so...
Oh, true. We didn't get to hear from him.
Yeah, I'm still in Rainer's corner, so I was a little bit sad of the overall result, but I mean, the series was fantastic. For me, the series of the day, and this was also the map of the day. Ultra Love, so much back and forth.
Yeah, this was the map of the day,
say,
for
this
sure.
game is over, this game is over. I had a hard time actually calling it.
Okay.
Throughout the entire time, basically, until the last 5 minutes.
Maybe another contender for Game of the Day, though. Hero Cure Game 2 Ultra.
True.
What on earth was that?
This was also a crazy game.
Something, but hey, Roddy, you know that green wave? Only one of them in that round of 8 so far. What's happening?
It was supposed to be a big green wave in the wave pool, but we're stuck in the lazy river. Like, it's not a whole lot is happening yet. But hey, maybe tomorrow.
Some would say that Protoss has been in the lazy river for a few years, to be perfectly honest, though.
We might get demoted to the kiddie pool soon, man. Like, live vest only.
Of course, and we round things out as well with Serral versus Classic. Our first game, ZG, it went the distance, we'll put it that way.
Yeah, actually, even thinking about it in terms of how it started out, which actually looked like Serral was going to overwhelm Classic, and then Classic somehow stabilized. I thought that was the first time that I was like, wow, this is like this is just so high level, right? Like Serral would have absolutely overwhelmed any other Zerg player. And then yeah, that highlight right there where the mothership went back in, like we actually said in the green room, like, oh, it's a very similar situation. This is where Serral loses, and somehow Serral brings that back through just patience and good decision making, and his ability to take fights is always so amazing. He always seems to get all those little things to begin the fight, but he's still so patient. He doesn't just like jump. You know, he gets a couple of oracles. He doesn't just go, well, that's it. He's like, well, that's not quite it. I did love Lambo actually in the green room. He was like, as soon as he splits the Broodlords, that's when you can tell, because that was absolutely true.
Yeah, that's the one move where I always know Jonas going in is if there's a complete concave of Broodlords. Nobody else even does that, but it's super good.
And in that first game, banks were gained, banks were lost on multiple levels. But let's take a look at our Sony MVP of the day as well. Who is it going to be?
Oh.
It's Maru
Maru
here for his series against Reina. Is this too much of a surprise to you, Roddy? What are you making of it?
No, I don't think it's a surprise, because I think we had 2 series of the day. Like every series obviously was a series we looked forward to, but there were 2 that stood out. Maru, Reina, Classic, Serral. In the end, Serral gets a rather decisive victory over Classic, but Maru had to dig very, very deep against Reina. A bizarre game on Ultra Love. Obviously loved the switch to Bio in Game 5, and even that got very hectic because he was low on SCVs, but he kept it together in the end with a crazy amount of Marine tanks splitting on creep. I'd say that's well deserved. Maru had to work incredibly hard for this victory, and he got it done.
Yeah, I also want to mention that in that series, it looked very similar, but like Maru's build orders. He always went for Cyclone mech, but all of them were slightly different. He didn't play the same build a single time. There was always slight differences, and also differences in how Reiner was supposed to respond to that, which made that so difficult to play against for the Zerg player. So really good.
Yo, shout out to Blarg. Shout out to Blarg in the chat.
He came into this not just
like 11 months
Cyclone
of
mech,
support.
not
Thank
just
you.
playing
Thank you.
Banshee every game. Different opener every single time. Good preparation.
Do you think now people can have a bit more of a read on Maru ZG coming into this? Obviously, it was a little bit, not that many games under the belt on like, online or anything, to be honest.
Yeah, absolutely. I know, like, you know, the Beast Room was saying, hey, like, the Trigger series actually showed a little bit too. Like, even though that was a 2-0 that people expected Maru to win, it was just like, well, that actually was super clean. That was super nice. But then I think, absolutely, this was the real test. I mean, we're not just talking about facing Reiner, who is a favorite to win this, but then also how long these games went. And he was able to persevere. He was able to stay to the last, and then finishing it up with an 8-rack, showing that bio capability too. It just, once again, showed the well-roundedness of Maru and makes him that tournament contender.
After so many years of non-Korean champions, the Koreans not being able to become a world champion, and Maru always kind of being on the precipice, on the cusp. If he continues this kind of form, Roddy, we could maybe finally see Maru overcome that hurdle, and that would actually be kind of magical, because he's been there so many times, almost there.
Oh, it'd be an insane story, and it doesn't matter if you play Protoss, Zerg, or Tyrant. If Maru wins the World Championship, there is another player in the world says like, that's kind of undeserved. Like, no, looking at that man's career, he's had an absolutely beautiful career. That's the one thing that he's kind of missing, but it's still such a long road ahead of him. Like the quarterfinals, it doesn't matter who you face, it's going to be incredibly tough. Semis and grand finals, like that's anybody's game.
The fact that it's single elim, there's no more chances after that, and you could run some absolute monsters in that bracket. Let's check in with the schedule that's coming to you tomorrow.
Yeah, I'm curious if they've seeded the bracket yet.
For StarCraft 2, and we are starting things off down in the lower bracket. Do or die for some of these guys, as we have Reina versus Zaun, Rogue versus Cure.
I'm actually looking at Team Falcon versus Team Liquid.
It never ends.
True.
Yeah, it never ends, like back to back.
And Basilisk versus Vitality, also true.
Really needing those points, but yeah, absolutely a fantastic setup for the next day. I mean, yeah, I think there's a couple more we're going to be looking at. Yeah.
This is the bottom side of that graphic was wrong actually. Those
I was
being played.
I was like, oh, another Rainer versus Maru series, amazing. It's fantastic.
Not yet. Maybe down the line, ZG. No, it is Shin Solar, obviously, in the lower bracket. And it is Rainer against Zaun, that is correct. And I guess Classic falls to the lower bracket to play against...
Showtime.
Is it maybe...
Showtime.
We don't have to do it. It's like doing math.
Showtime.
Don't you worry, okay?
Someone give him a link to Wikipedia.
The information that we have. What a day it has been for StarCraft.
It's Classic Showtime, by the way.
Thank you. Yeah, you've got that. Yeah.
Oh, yeah, no, it's actually one that I'm really looking forward to. Because I'm not counting Showtime out there. I hyped him up a lot, and the series against Cure, unfortunately, didn't really go his way. He wasn't able to show what his PvP can be made of. But that's historically a matchup that just holds him back a little bit on the biggest events. But his PvP, I am a strong believer in Showtime PvP.
Yeah, he's super good at it. Also, I think Rogue versus Cure is then the last, right?
Woo!
So to finish up all the matches that we have them on. And that's also a good one.
Yeah, that's really good.
That is really good. Any final thoughts, CG, before we get going?
Yeah, as you
1,
said,
2,
it was an
3,
amazing day,
4,
right?
5,
like,
6,
I mean, I think that's kind of why we're a little like mushy-brained as well. It's just like there's a lot of fantastic players to still track, even though we've already.
So tomorrow's going to be 8 best of 5s. Jesus.
And excited for what tomorrow can bring, because today, you know, I thought casting that series with Solar Clem, I was like, well, this is pretty solid. You know, like this is the best series of the day. Like I'm okay with that. And then the next two were just absolute bangers. So hopefully tomorrow continues to.
It's going to be crazy.
Love it. What a day we have had here for day number 2 of the Esports World Cup for StarCraft 2. Tomorrow we are back, same time, same place. We will be eliminating more players.
I think the B stream is still going to be live
into
though.
That round of 8 as well. Thank you for tuning in around the world. Thank you to Lambo for joining us. You know what? What a lad. And hey, maybe he'll join us tomorrow. But for now, we are done for day number 2. Join us tomorrow. Day number 3, the world champion is on the road, baby. We'll see you then.
Okay. We might get a little bit of a content piece after this as well. But yeah, GG will play it again. It was a little fun. A really amazing day of StarCraft. The highlights, I have to echo what they mentioned as well. Like the Reina versus Maru series, especially on Ultra Love, was insane. Was an insane back and forth. Likewise, Hero versus Cure, especially the game on Tokamak, was crazy. Was a crazy back and forth as well. So a lot of really highlight matches. Serral versus Classic was a really cool storyline match just because of the history between them, and everyone was excited to see how the players had transformed and evolved over time in that period of time between DreamHack Dallas and now. And again, we did see that Serral was able to adapt quite nicely against that more defensive style out of Classic. So if they do have a rematch, that's where Classic is going to have to go back to the drawing board when it comes to how he wants to approach Serral. Meanwhile, when it comes to Maru's play, again, I'm really excited to see how Maru performs in some of the other matches. Again, like we've seen that he has a certain style to his TVZ and TVP so far, so we'll see who he's up against at the quarterfinals. Likewise, we have not seeded the quarterfinals yet. I believe it's going to be tomorrow. Tomorrow, the quarterfinals are going to be seeded with Clem, Maru, Hero, Serral, and the others. Otherwise, thanks for watching. Thanks for tuning in. We do wrap things up here. How long were we live? 10 hours. 10 hours today. It was 9 hours yesterday, 10 hours today. And we'll go for even more tomorrow. I think the B stream is going to be live tomorrow with 2 matches. So I mentioned before it's going to be 8 best of 5s. There are 8 best of 5s happening, but I think only 6 get casted on the main stream. I think 2 of them are going to be on the B stream, if I'm not mistaken. I could be wrong there. So I don't know what we're going to be covering, but we'll do our best. We'll do our best to keep up, to catch up. Technically, we could cast some of the B stream matches if we wanted to. It's hard to say what speaks to me. I want to see everything. Like, Rainer versus Zaun is going to be a banger. I do favor Rainer there. Shin versus Solo, that can go either way, to be honest. That can go either way. That's going to be a banger. ZvZ. Classic versus Showtime. They were referring earlier to Showtime and praising Showtime for his PvP. I would agree with that. If you've been watching Showtime versus MaxPax as of late, Showtime has been getting the better of MaxPax at times and it's been looking very impressive in PvP. So I can see that going either way as well. Like, on paper, I feel like Classic is a little bit more renowned. He's a little bit more accomplished as a player historically. But Showtime, he's also currently, I would say, quite close in skill in PvP with Classic. So I'm hoping for that to be a back and forth. And it could go either way. I mean, best of luck to Showtime. It would be great to see an upset and a series in favor of Showtime there. And Cure versus Rogue is also going to be an interesting one. I think I lean towards Cure there. I think that's a little bit harder to call, I want to say. Like, Cure versus Rogue, yeah, has a lot of potential here for sure. I think I lean towards Cure in that series, but best of luck to our players here. And again, we'll be live tomorrow, same time, same place, in around 14 hours time. We're gonna be live with day 3 of the Esports World Cup. As a reminder, how many days? 4 days of EWC. So tomorrow is going to be day 3, wrapping up the qualifying match in the quarterfinals, and then the final day is going to be the semis, third place match, and grand finals as well. So 2 more days of Esports World Cup.